find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. Hello, my jiu-jitsu sisters. What is going on? So if you are new here, hello. You probably found this video because you are looking for the best martial art for self-defense. If you are a returning subscriber, hey girl, what is up? So whether you're new or if you're already in BJJ and you're returning, this video is definitely for you because we are going to figure out some stuff that's going to make things so much clearer and based in reality. I'm like pointing to something that's like not even there. No. All right, and based in reality. All right. So in order to find the best martial art for you, we have to first understand how you are actually going to use the martial art in a actual situation that will statistically be the most probable to happen to you. And to do that, we are going to draw a triangle. Which you can see, which is very fitting for jiu-jitsu. This on the y-axis is our intensity. All right, so most altercations involving a female typically involve a male. And as women, even to this day, when I first think of self-defense, I imagine a guy wearing like one of those cage helmets, all padded up, going towards the female, and the female just like going ham and like kneeing and trying to strike and yelling loudly and, you know, trying to knee them in the crotch. And that is what I imagine still to this day, and probably what you imagine as well. And I'm gonna tell you right now, in real life, this is actually what happens, all right? So in real life, what happens is, have you ever heard the story of like how to boil a frog? How if the water was already boiling and you try to put the frog in, of course, if you're the frog, you're like, let's get out of here, this is way too hot. However, if you're a frog and things are incrementally increased, you're not going to feel it getting hotter until it's too late. And that analogy is exactly what happens in real life, okay? So I'll tell you one story, all right? So there was a female and she knew this guy. They were in the same social circle, had the same friends, and one day he like messaged her like, hey, come over to my place, let's hang out. She gets there, he offers her a drink. She says, no, I think I'm all set. He's like, oh, come on. She's like, fine, okay. Offers her a second drink. She's like, I'm good. And he's like, yeah, come on. So she takes a shot. Offers her a third shot, and she's like, no, seriously, like, I don't want to take this shot. And he's like, you need to take it now, or else I am going to go over there and pour it down your throat. And imagine being in that situation where you're like, I think this dude was cool, and now I'm like kind of scared. And so she just grabbed the shot and took it. That is an example of the varying degrees of turning up the heat. So from there, somebody will test you to see where you're at and then turn up the heat. All right, so down here, right, we're talking communication that's both verbal and gradually getting to physical up here, okay? So In most self-defense, when we all think of the stereotypical self-defense class, we imagine a woman just going ham on this dude, okay? Now, in that situation, are you really gonna go ham? Like, you know this person and he has incrementally increased the pressure of a drink from verbal to the borderline physical of I will take it and pour it down your throat. Now, most of these people, 80%, I really should draw this line up here. All right. So do you see this fight intensity going from verbal, take a drink, no, to I will pour it down your throat, and she agrees, and then he knows from there, like, he's tested it, he's turning up the heat. Let me give you another example. A person that you have a boyfriend at this time, you're in a bar, you're pretty drunk, and his friend offers to like walk you home, not his like best friend, but like, like in the social circle. So you say yes because you are, being a female, traditionally afraid that like some scary person is gonna jump out of the bushes. But in actuality, he walks you home, you go in your room and he follows you in, and all of a sudden he's butt-ass naked, and you're like, what is going on? And he comes towards you and you are so shocked that you are just like still, okay? Like, when we are in situations where we know the person, which is 80% of the situations, going completely ham and like eye gouging and kneeing and all of this stuff isn't realistic, okay? Like, I have been training for 5 years. I've taken MMA fights. Like, I would feel uncomfortable eye gouging somebody that I knew. I would feel, more comfortable if it was somebody that I didn't know in a very high to the death type of fight. But if we're still at communication, eye gouging and kneeing in the crotch is not appropriate. So in order to find a martial art that will serve you as a female for self-defense, one thing that you have to look for in your martial art is, does it offer techniques with levels of fight intensity? Okay, so is there something that you could use here where it's getting from the communication verbal to physical that would help you basically jump out of the pot? I'll give you another example of this that involves jiu-jitsu. I remember one time I was grabbed by a male in like a social situation, and I posted on his neck. And when people that don't train get their neck grabbed, it is a completely shocking reaction for them, and he completely like disengaged. Okay, so that is an example. Like, I'm not going to eye gouge him or kick him in the nuts. Like, that wouldn't match the situation that we are currently in. So that's why having various levels of intensity in the techniques for matching this appropriate range of fight is super useful, because then you can jump out of the pot when it's on degree 30 instead of waiting for 300. You get what I'm saying? And the second thing that you want to look out for is All right, so in the situation where you are at, this class that's teaching self-defense for females, if the only techniques being shown rely on pain tolerance, run. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's say, you're doing one of these simulations and the technique that you're being shown is a knee or, one of these palm strikes, and you do the technique and it's on a padded person. But realistically, okay, I was in a jiu-jitsu match that involved barehanded strikes, and I have been punched in the face multiple times, and I'll tell you what, when your adrenaline starts going, you don't feel a thing. Like, I did not feel a thing after my fight. I looked in the mirror and I was like, that's what I look like? Like, I didn't feel a thing. So if your self-defense that's being shown to you is only relying on pain tolerance, that is not for you. You need something, you need a martial art that's teaching you techniques that go above and beyond pain tolerance. That's why jiu-jitsu is great, because it involves a constriction of the blood flow to the brain, commonly called a choke, that renders somebody asleep. And if somebody is sleeping and completely unconscious, you have 100% chance of getting away, which is the beauty of jiu-jitsu. If your self-defense only involves like strikes, eye gouges, knees to the groin, it's pain tolerance, and some people don't give a shit about that. Especially if their adrenaline starts going, and then on top of that, like, where's the level of fight intensity here? Like, you're just going from 0 to 100, and in real life it's incremental. Another super, oh my god, this is so important, and if you are already taking jiu-jitsu, this is definitely for you. Can I put any more underlines? All right. So as a female, if you've already in jiu-jitsu, like I had a couple people come up to me and they were like, hey, I just started jiu-jitsu, I've been training for a year and none of my techniques are working during live training. Like, what is going on? So let me explain this phenomenon and let me explain what live training actually is. So if you need to find a martial art that not only teaches you techniques that would be appropriate for these varying levels of intensity, and you also want something that's more than just pain tolerance, and you want to be able to practice these when you have this fight intensity. I mean, we joke about rolling to the death, but when you live train, okay, you are actually testing the techniques when you're under duress. And your training partner is literally fighting against you. Okay, there are some martial arts that will teach you a technique and then you'll practice it. There'll be these faux simulations, but nobody is actually putting their hands on you, physically trying to resist what you're doing. And that live training helps you in two ways. One, you get to figure out what you need to do in order to make your techniques work. And when you translate your knowledge into skill, like, you start to see things working on the mat. And that typically takes about 2 years of consistent training if you're the smallest one on the mat. But the thing is, when you train jiu-jitsu, even though techniques are not working against your opponents, they will work outside of the gym, and this is why. When you are going up against people at the gym, their fight level, especially if you're going up against, let's say, a male white belt with like an ego and doesn't want to get beat by a woman, their fight level is like up here, okay? Rolling with male ego. When you're a female rolling with a male, I have firsthand experience of this. You're rolling against male ego, which is a high level of fight. If you are used to rolling with a high level of fight intensity, even if you have zero techniques working. But when you roll, you are fighting that entire time. Guess what? All of a sudden, you are going to able to handle situations in life for self-defense with intensities ranging all the way to here. And most of us females, myself included, when I first started, I was afraid of this barrier right here of the verbal turning into physical, and sometimes I would just be agreeable to make sure that it didn't get physical. But in reality, when you have these altercations with somebody that you know, they don't want things to get physical, because who wants to, like, once bruises are left, it's evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want it to happen. Like, most people don't have like trained fight instincts, okay? So when you are up here and you are used to this fight intensity, two things happen. This barrier for you is erased. You are not afraid of things getting physical, and that will get you out of the boiling of the water at like 50 or 60 degrees. It'll get you out sooner, because they know that your confidence is there. You're not worried about it getting physical. And then if it did get physical and you physically had to fight somebody, you have this amount of fight endurance built up, like you're a runner. Like, you can fight for a prolonged period of time, okay? And that prolonged period of time, even if you get zero techniques down, is for the vast majority of situations, okay, statistically, the vast majority of situations, they don't want it to last that long, and it will stop or somebody will come. Like, that level of fight, if you are a white belt female and you are so frustrated because you're rolling and you're not submitting people on the mat, like, girl, like, you are doing such a good job. You are just getting out there and rolling your first year. If you do a round or two, like 2 rounds 2 times a week, 1 round 2 times a week, that is amazing. Good job. Like, that is friggin' awesome. You are building up your fight intensity, even if you get zero techniques, okay? So here's the thing. If your martial art that you choose does not have live training, you are fooling yourself. Because you need to be in a situation where somebody physically has their hands on you and they are fighting you, meaning they are offering a resistance. You are trying to do something, then they're trying to stop whatever you're doing and trying to impose their will on you. If you don't have that, what we call it in jiu-jitsu is rolling, sparring, grappling. If you don't have that, then what you're learning for a martial art, I'm sorry, but it is not real. If you are in jiu-jitsu and you never roll, I remember my coach told, I used to drill all the time. I had 2 notebooks full of step-by-step how to do every single technique. Like, I could do the techniques, but I couldn't do them under duress. And he was like, Crystal, your jiu-jitsu isn't real, because I needed to roll more because I was afraid of rolling. Like, this happens to everybody. So in order to find something that's real, you need to walk into that gym and see, are people touching each other? Are they touching each other in a way and they're doing the techniques that it's not a mat, it's not somebody holding something, it's not mats being pounded on you, it's not somebody in a padded suit. They are, and you are, and and you both are going at it, okay? And they are trying to fight you, okay? And it is so funny, like, when you're about to submit a white belt, man, like, that is a high, that is like rolling to the death. Like, this, what's happening up here are like the extreme violent situations that the statistical probability of that happening to you is extremely low. The majority of people that are in these situations, They don't want it to get that physical. So this is the realistic like view on things, okay? The most important point that I want you to take away from this is to understand that self-defense, especially for females, happens in very incremental, gradual, slow steps, okay? And if you have an appropriate response, an appropriate defense technique, starting with communication and going all the way up, like for example, if you haven't seen my video where I talk about going on Tinder dates, that's a great one to watch because I go over like exactly like what happens like realistically when, let's say, like you're on a date or you happen to be out. Like it is a gradual increase of boundary stepping, okay? It is a, hey, no, like take this drink. It is a touch on the knee, okay? And if you're not used to physical contact because you haven't live trained, that's going to feel different for you, okay? The first day I walked into jiu-jitsu and I saw people grappling, like it was so awkward to have somebody that close to me. But once you start training and you are training in an environment where there is live training, you become immune to feeling awkward by being in that close contact. And that gives you a great level of self-defense because you are not afraid of it getting physical. And yeah, so if you are a female white belt and you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're just like, oh my God, nothing is working, just know that what you're doing is you're building this skill right here. Like when you first start jiu-jitsu, we are all down here, okay? Our fight level is down there, and every single second that you spend rolling, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, you are slowly climbing up this axis, okay? So don't think that failure equals tapping out or failure equals not getting, the class technique live during rolling. Think every single second on this mat that I spend in a shitty position is training my ability to fight, okay? And you are doing great. You're going to spend a lot of time on the bottom of a mountain, on the bottom of side control, and you are realistically not going to get any techniques because people on the mat are skilled and people out there are not skilled. So you're doing great. I'm proud of you. Just keep on going to class, keep on getting that round or two in per week. And I will see you next video. If this was helpful, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead, like, let's be friends. It's time. And give this video a like. If this was helpful for you, understanding this definitely helped me truly understand what goes on in a actual self-defense situation instead of just thinking that some stranger was going to jump out of the bushes and it was going to be 0 to 100. Like, it doesn't realistically, like, it happens like this. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and until next time.